What kind of food tastes heavenly, but makes people beg for death hours later? That was the question people in Orlu town started asking in whispers. Because every day, from morning till night, one restaurant was always full. The name on the signboard was simple: Madame Vero's Place. From the outside, the restaurant looked perfect. Clean glass doors, bright lights, neatly arranged tables and chairs, soft music playing. The smell of food alone could make a hungry person dizzy. Inside, servers stood in a straight line, well-dressed, smiling, serving food quickly, no delays, no complaints. People said if you ate Madame Vero's food once, you would dream about it forever. Travellers stopped their journeys just to eat there. Drivers parked their vehicles and rushed in. Villagers saved money just to taste her food again. Her food is not normal, people said. It tastes like heaven. Madame Vero herself was always smiling, calm, quiet, watching everyone eat. But no one was allowed into the kitchen. If a server got too close, Madame Vero's voice would change. "Go back to your position," she would say softly. Behind the kitchen door was another world. The floor was black with dirt. Rats ran freely, brushing against pots. Flies covered the food like a moving cloth. Water used for cooking was brown. Pots were never washed properly, and Madame Vero cooked there alone. As the food boiled, she would lift her arms slowly, take a razor, and shave her armpit hair directly into the pot. She smiled as she stirred. Sometimes she whispered words no one understood. Sometimes she laughed softly, like someone enjoying a secret. That same night, after eating her food, people began to suffer. Stomachs twisted like ropes. Pain burned through their bodies. Some vomited until nothing came out. Others lay on the floor, sweating and shaking. But the worst part came when they slept. People dreamed of rats crawling into their mouths. They dreamed of hair growing inside their stomachs. They dreamed of Madame Vero standing beside their bed, smiling. Some woke up screaming. Some felt heavy footsteps following them home. Some heard plates clanging in their kitchens at midnight. By morning, Orlu was restless. People whispered. People prayed. But still, by afternoon, Madame Vero's restaurant was full again. The sick returned. The fearful return. Even those who swore never to eat there again found themselves standing in line, because the hunger came back, stronger, deeper, unnatural. And as Madame Vero watched them enter, her smile slowly widened. Madame Vero's restaurant did not close. In fact, it thrived even more, even with whispers, even with sickness, even with fear. Every afternoon, the chairs were filled, plates clanged, servers moved fast, laughter returned like nothing was wrong. People said, "Yes, some people fall sick, but maybe it's not the food," and the hunger kept pulling them back. One afternoon, Mr. Alika walked into the restaurant with his family. His wife held his hand. Their 2 children followed behind a little boy and a little girl. They sat near the window. Servers came quickly. Menus did not matter. Everyone ordered the same thing. When the food arrived, the smell was rich, sweet, heavy. Mr. Alika's wife smiled after the first bite. "This is good," she said. "Too good." They finished everything. That night, the pain started. Running stomach, sweat soaking the bed, weakness. The children cried. Mr. Alika held his wife as she shook. By morning, she was dead. Her eyes were open, her mouth twisted like she wanted to scream. People said it was sudden sickness. Someone gave Mr. Alika and the children a strong herbal drink, bitter, burning. They drank it. Slowly, their strength returned. But something else stayed. At night, Mr. Alika dreamed of Madame Vero, standing in a forest, blood on her hands, calling his wife's name, because Madame Vero always went to the thick forest, deep inside, where light did not reach. She went barefoot, carrying bowls, whispering as she walked. Something waited for her there. She cut meat, spilled blood, buried things that still moved, and she promised more. Back in town, Mr. Alika went back to the restaurant. Not to eat, to watch. He sat quietly with his children, ordered nothing, eyes fixed on the kitchen door. His heart burned with revenge. While he watched Madame Vero smile and serve others, his little girl slipped down from the chair. Slowly, quietly, she crept toward the kitchen. The door was slightly open. She peeped inside. What she saw froze her blood. Rats standing still, a pot shaking by itself, hair floating inside soup. And Madame Vero, not cooking, talking to something inside the wall. Her back bent the wrong way. Her mouth moved, but the voice was not hers. The little girl gasped. Madame Vero's head turned sharply. Her eyes locked onto the child. She screamed, "Get out!" The little girl's scream echoed through the restaurant. For a moment, everything froze. Then, as if nothing had happened, Madame Vero turned back to the customers, smiling softly. "Enjoy your food, everyone," she said, her voice calm, almost too calm. The servers carried on. The plates clanged. People laughed and chatted as usual. No one noticed the fear in the little girl's eyes. All the way her father, Mr. Alika, clenched his fists under the table. For weeks, Madame Vero continued her business like nothing had happened. Her restaurant thrived. People kept coming. Some whispered about strange happenings, shadows in the kitchen, mysterious illnesses, sudden deaths, but nobody had proof. Until one day, the town could no longer ignore it. Children who had been to her restaurant told their parents of seeing rats bowing to her in the kitchen. Workers spoke of strange chanting in the dead of night. Neighbors reported bloodstains leading into the thick forest behind the town. Mr. Alika, still grieving his wife, could no longer remain silent. He gathered a group of brave villagers, some armed with torches, others carrying sticks. They followed Madame Vero one night after she left her restaurant. She walked silently into the thick forest, barefoot, carrying a bowl and whispering words that sounded like a curse. The group watched as she dug into the earth, buried small packages wrapped in cloth, and poured something dark and sticky over them. She spoke to the wind. Something moved beneath the soil, small, unidentifiable, wriggling forms. Suddenly, she turned her head. Her eyes were like fire. The villagers froze. But it was too late. They had already seen enough. The next day, police investigations began. Bodies were exhumed from hidden pits in the forest. Evidence from the restaurant hair, strange powders, and blood-stained tools was collected. Mr. Alika told the authorities everything he had witnessed, including what his daughter saw. Madame Vero tried to charm her way out. She smiled, acted innocent, and claimed she was a simple cook. But the evidence was overwhelming. Finally, she was arrested. The townspeople whispered as she was led away in handcuffs. Her restaurant was closed, the kitchen cleaned and sealed. In the aftermath, Oulu was never the same. People were careful where they ate. Parents warned their children about greed and desire for instant pleasure. And Mr. Alika? He visited the graves of his wife and the villagers who had died. He whispered a lesson he had learned too late. Sometimes, the things that taste the sweetest hide the deepest evil. The moral was clear. Not all that is tempting is safe. Not all smiles are genuine. Some hunger cannot be trusted. And though Madame Vero was gone, people still remembered the question she left behind. What kind of food tastes heavenly, but makes people beg for death hours later? A warning for the town, a story that would be told for generations.